Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Thursday, January 5th, 2017. My name is Rich, and joining me this week is a very sober Bijan. How are you making out?
I'm alive, man. Woo! I didn't think we were making it out last week.
That was brutal. I hope everyone enjoyed those. We've gotten some good feedback. I hope everyone enjoyed those episodes. We certainly enjoyed recording them, but that definitely can't be an every week activity. That was pretty hard.
Nope, that is a one-year thing.
So we're going to do something a little different this week. We're stepping outside of the ninja and OCR community a little bit to represent our good friend Matt Iseman a little bit. We're going to be taking a look at Celebrity Apprentice, the first episode.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, from here going out, I'm just gonna do like a short little, like maybe 3 to 5 minute little recap of each episode. But it's definitely not going to be the majority of our entire episodes like it is for this one. This one's just going to be a special little mini episode about it and obvious National Ninja League. But from here on out, it'll be a little short snippet from me.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. But we'll go a little bit more in depth this time because we don't really have a whole lot else to talk about this week. So we can definitely, I'd like to talk about a little bit because I don't watch The Apprentice. So this was a lot of new things for me. So
interesting.
We can go into a little more depth and then we'll talk about National Ninja and then that'll be it. Maybe it should be a short and quick episode since we put out 2 big episodes in the past week anyway.
Yeah, you guys are sick and tired of hearing my voice, I'm sure.
All right. So right off the bat, overall impressions of the new boss. What did you think, Bijan? Since it sounds like you were a fan before. Do you like the change? Hate it?
Not a fan of Donald Trump, if that's what you're trying to say. I was a fan of the. Oh man, I'm stepping into some water with that one. But yeah, the show itself, I always enjoyed the concept of it, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's fine, but the one-liners he's doing, like, just for everybody at home, like, he keeps on doing, "You're terminated, get to the Choppa," like, all of his main lines, and it's just painful. I mean, at the very end, he says, "You're terminated, hasta la vista, baby," like, while trying to be all serious, and I'm like, what the hell am I watching? What is this? So, not a big fan of the Schwarzenegger thing. He can tone the things down a bit, but with that said, the show itself and all of the celebrities and the concepts and the premise of the show, I absolutely enjoyed. I honestly think Schwarzenegger might be the weakest point of the show, and that's overall fine because he's maybe 5% of the main show. You know, it's mostly about the celebs, and they all were great.
Interesting. Okay, because I don't know what it's normally like, so I don't really have a point of reference. I was a little underwhelmed with the celebrities they got. There was a few cool ones. Matt Iseman, obviously, big fan. But John Lovitz, I don't know. I guess I don't know what it's normally like.
Well,
so
damn sure ain't about star power. I can tell you that. So
yeah,
it's not
like
not about
YouTube
that.
celebrities and Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Celebrity Apprentice has always been like C-list celebrities, B-list celebrities, and they get like a sprinkling of few A-list celebrities. You can typically tell the main celebrities because they get the most airtime. It's mostly about personality. That's what it's really about. And we've had seasons before where, they had famous people, but their personalities were dry as a rock, and everybody's like, ugh, like this show sucks. This season there's a lot of strong personalities and fun ones. And with that said, I just got to get into it, man. It's hard to say because, obviously we're a little bit biased, but I was really, really impressed by Matt Iseman. He really did well. And in terms of his team, he's one of the 3 main foundations of that team. He's getting a whole lot of airtime. And you can tell he is very, very comfortable in front of the camera, whereas a few others aren't on this show. So I think if he stays on this show for a large majority of the season, his star power is going to boom big time.
Yeah, like I don't think that's our bias showing through. I think he kind of stole the show a bit there because the challenge that they faced. So kind of give you a rundown for those that don't watch the show or didn't watch this particular episode. they took the celebrities. I don't know who. We won't bother running them all down. There was Boy George and Carney Wilson, a few other ones you might know.
Yeah, the three main ones for the men were definitely Boy George. What's the guy's with the dog? What's his name?
John Lovitz.
John Lovitz, yeah. John Lovitz and Matt Iseman. Those were like the three people that you kept seeing on the camera the whole time. And they were winning it. So it wasn't like, they were on camera because they were sucking. So that really surprised me because going into this, I was really worried that Matt Iseman might get the shaft for some other, like the athletes or something. Athletes are pretty much not there. I mean, Chael Sonnen, I'm a big fan of. He got 5 seconds of airtime?
I thought they all got pretty well represented. I thought Vince Neil, if anybody, was probably the one that got the least. What's his name? Carson from Queer Eye, from The Straight Guy, maybe? I'm not sure who everybody is.
That's the problem, man. There were 3 guys that got a whole lot of airtime, and the rest really didn't get that much airtime.
But Carson, actually, I think got the most, maybe, for the guys, and you didn't mention him. He's the guy that was arguing with Boy George over being the leader of the group.
Yeah, he got some airtime. Yeah, I would say Carson got a lot more airtime in the second half.
Yeah. But what was weird is they squared off against the women, and they had to sell Tyra Banks' beauty line, which put them at a pretty severe disadvantage, you would think.
Oh, yeah.
But they did a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it was more of a fault. Like, they did good, and they did well. They did everything they should do. The women blew it, dude. Like, what were the women thinking? Why don't you recap, what, just for listeners, what the women did for their presentation for Tyra Banks?
I thought they did a really good job. I was with them.
Oh, you're crazy.
Because I thought that was the point, was to make people excited for the product, which they seemed to do. Now, there were some cringy moments, for sure. But what they did was, Tyra's got this 5-minute makeup deal where you can use this stick and you can apply it with your fingers, and you can do it really quickly. So rather than having professional makeup artists do up these women, they had the models put their own makeup on. That was the kind of their big selling point, and made the atmosphere of this big conference room that they were presenting in into kind of like a party atmosphere. They were all very excited. There was a big, I mean, even though you didn't agree with their presentation style, there did seem to be, even Tyra was saying, like a really positive, excited energy in the room, right? Everybody was very excited about the product. And the problem is that a couple of points they were improvising, people were grabbing the mic, and Tyra's biggest problem with it was that they didn't talk about the technical aspects of the product a lot. They were more interested in demonstrating it and saying catchphrases for it, which were very cringy at times.
I think you're undermining just how big of a deal the product branding is for a type of presentation like this. It doesn't matter if everybody's having fun or whatever. If you don't know what it's about, then it's basically useless. And for one, they had models putting on makeup, and they were putting on makeup not the right way that the product's meant to be done. If you notice, they weren't necessarily blotting. And for everybody at home, the whole point of these makeup products is that you're supposed to just blot your cheeks, keep tapping your cheeks and everything to put them on. They weren't necessarily doing that correctly. But the main thing is, they never sold the product. They never talked about the product, really. They weren't explaining what makes the product different from anything else. And in terms of the messaging, you had 8 women speaking over each other at the end, trying to pull out a catchphrase. It was a complete mess in terms of advertising. And that is the number one aspect that you need for things like this. Whereas the men were the complete opposite. Their branding was on point. They were talking about the product. They were going in depth with what the product ingredients were. Their messaging was on point, and it was very easy and precise to do. When you just throw a bunch of people out there at once, the message gets really muddied, and there's too many things going on. The men, each celebrity came out at a time, represented each different product that they're selling, because it was a set of 6 or something like that, and were explaining clearly everything it was. They gave more time to the celebrities. They gave more time to the product. They gave more time to the advertising. That is the way you need to do that kind of stuff. So the women, complete mess. Men, on point.
Nah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't think they were a complete mess. I think what hurt them the most, and I think what would have saved them in the end is if, I think Tyra had an amazingly good point. They are celebrity women and none of them were wearing her product in this presentation. Like, they all should have been wearing it to demonstrate
That wasn't Tyra's premise though, man.
That was the first thing she said. That was the very first thing she said.
Yeah, but her main thing was that they weren't seeing their faces. They weren't advertising their faces as much. Like, she was talking about them with makeup, but it wasn't necessarily like any woman can be wearing any makeup. That wasn't the main thing. It's that they weren't going out and selling themselves. They weren't saying, hey, I'm Snooki, very famous for a lot of millennials, and I can represent this product. Look at me wearing this product. That's the issue. It's that nobody knew. For all the audience, it could have just been 8 women. You know, they might know sprinkling of some celebrities, but at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of women. They weren't introducing themselves correctly or anything like that, or selling what their exact strengths were as celebrities. Whereas the men were, you know, you had the comedian, you had the salesman in Matt Iseman, you had the athlete, you know, the men stayed to the premise of what they were there for and their celebrity, whereas women didn't. So every aspect that Tyra Banks was having issues with for the women, the men did in spades. Yeah, the women had an advantage and could have done it, but guess what? They didn't.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, it boils down to they lost, right? So they did
badly.
No, they didn't. They didn't lose badly.
They lost badly. It was very clear. At the boardroom, guys, like, they went in depth, like, just tearing apart. Tyra Banks was tearing apart the women, and then Tyra Banks goes over to the men. She didn't say one complaint.
Yeah,
she just kept on. She just
they were graded on a curve.
They
were graded on a curve. It like, really, what are you going to do? Hold the men to, right? Like, really, she's just impressed they even applied the product. Like, that was. She was super impressed that they even were able to do it.
Even from an objective perspective, dude, the men were very much better than the women. And that's crazy because the women had such an advantage. Like, going into this, I would have, like, sworn the women have this in a bag. You know, they know these products. They know makeup. They know all this stuff. The men probably, you know, some might, but for the most part, don't know this type of stuff. But the men adjusted and did phenomenally.
Now, I think you're focusing too much on the ones that did do phenomenally, like Matt Iseman, who really could have done the whole thing and would have done an amazing job on it. When you look at, like, John Lovitz coming in, it was kind of awkward. There were quite a few awkward moments where the guys were applying it and trying to talk about it, but it was like watching someone trying to sell bottled water or something. It was not engaging at all.
Still more engaging than the women, dude.
Maybe. We're not the target audience either.
Well, with that said, man, you haven't, you know, ever, for everybody at home, there was a little Easter egg in the audience, which I had to, like, pause, and I was like, is that who I think it is? And sure enough, man, during the women's, presentation, I didn't really see this person in the men's. I don't know if they switched it up or if it was the same, but Ninja Warrior's own Natalie Duran was, you know, one of the featured audience people, you know, that they're selling to. I was like, what is Natalie Duran doing there? That's dope. But I'm like, what? But sure enough, keep an eye out, guys. She definitely in this episode.
And since you had mentioned it before I watched the episode, I was watching for her, and I didn't notice her in the women's one. I noticed her in the men's one. So I'm pretty sure she was both. Yeah.
Yeah, Natalie Duran was definitely there. That was cool.
She's everywhere.
She is, man. All over Team Ninja Warrior.
Yeah. So going back to your first point, I actually really liked, to me, that was, I don't care if it's cheesy, I really liked Arnold doing the catchphrases. I burst into laughter. I went running into the room laughing when he said, "Get to the Choppa." It's fantastic.
Maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know, man.
It could be. I would be like Matt Iseman.
Rolling my eyes so hard.
So when Matt starts listing, so they are trying to think of, like, Arnold movies, and Matt just starts rolling them off the top of his head, like, really easy. Could you do that too?
What do you think? Of course not. Like,
really?
Oh,
is he?
No.
He's not as iconic to your generation at all, is he?
No.
Oh, wow.
Just no.
I was like 5 movies ahead of him. I had, like, another bunch of them queued up.
I don't know, dude. I'm trying to think of an equivalent for Arnold Schwarzenegger to my generation. It's just like, I don't know. We're going deep cuts, but, like, I did a lot of sociology and generational, you know, gaps. And let's just say older generations are more loyal to celebrities and, like, specific to brands and stuff. whereas Millennial and Generation Z are kind of, whatever is the best and not as loyal. That's why the main, like, star, quote unquote, movie star has kind of gone away.
Yeah, it's definitely changed, because when I was younger, they were called them like tentpole movies. You would just need one star. You would have, this is the Tom Cruise movie this summer, and you're going to go see it, and you're going to love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, you got to have more than that.
I was really excited when they first started showing the celebrities, because they had these big name people. I'm like, Jessica Alba's in this? That's awesome. But I'm guessing she's one of the companies that they'll be pitching to along the way.
Yeah, she owns a billion-dollar company.
Yeah, her and Warren Buffett and Steve Ballmer. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's things in the future to look forward to, and Jessica Alba, good friend of mine, so that's cool. I'm excited.
Everybody in California knows each other. Little known fact.
She's a little closer than that.
Speaking of somebody close, Patrick is Arnold's nephew, so he's got one of his relatives on the board with him.
Yeah, don't know much about the guy, but he held his own. He was very well poised and everything. I mean, good for him.
Yeah, he was more intimidating.
I really have nothing else to say about that guy.
He looked like stone cold. Like, he was looking at the people like, so who would you fire? So like he was grilling them, I think, better than Arnold was.
Yeah, I guess he would be like the straight man in the situation, He's going to be the no-nonsense guy that just breaks everything down. He's kind of like the bad cop, too. Well, I don't know. Schwarzenegger was a decent guy. I guess if Tyra was a good cop, he'd be the bad cop, even though that's not necessarily representative.
Yeah. What about when he called out John Lovitz for calling him Arnold? Oh my God, that was awkward.
That was dope. I love that.
I got embarrassed for him. My face turned red. I'm like, that's not even me. And I was like embarrassed for John. I'm like, oh my God, like, are they really friends? I kind of got the impression they were, but he put him right in his place.
Well, you have to, for everybody, they're going back and forth, and John Lovitz just referred to Arnold Schwarzenegger as Arnold because they are good friends. And on a show like this, Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of has to not only disclose the fact that, hey, they're friends, but also put him in his place. It could have been just kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger knew that he had to do something. It might have been a little, staged, but it was just basically like, yo, you call me governor here. You don't call me Arnold.
All right, so moving on to the big boardroom discussion, I guess, since we are in it here. So the women ended up losing the challenge, and they get brought back in. And is that what it's normally like in there, where it's just like, he's like pointing to one of them, like, so who points to the project manager, like, who should I fire? Like, pick two people. Who are you gonna bring back with you? And they're and they just did they usually duck out of it like that? They were all, nobody wanted to say anything.
Well, the thing is that it's the beginning of the season, so everybody's trying to play nice. I think you're going to see a lot more claws out later on in the season, the more it goes on and on. But at the very beginning, nobody wants to call out, be like, oh, this person sucked, fire that person, because there's a good chance you're going to be working with them again. Yeah. So you don't want to make enemies at the beginning of the season. Everybody's playing nice. I think 2 episodes in, you're going to see a whole lot more vitriol.
Kind of had it by the end of this episode. It didn't take long. All it took was for one of them to finally crack under the pressure, and the one that was playing the assistant, basically goes, well, I think it kind of falls on the project manager if the whole team failed. And I was like, ooh, nice, toss her under the bus, here we go. And it just kind of kept ramping up from there.
Yeah.
What do you think of his decision of who he cut? Like, so he did end up cutting the assistant one, saying that she basically didn't take enough risks and that you need to stand out. You need to go stand in your underwear in the middle of a market to sell, to promote your gym, kind of a situation like he did.
Okay. He did not tell them to do that.
Sure he did.
Okay.
That's how I took it.
He did not say that at all. He said, this is what I did to be creative, to go the extra step. And he wanted everybody else to go the extra step, not just do what they were told. I clearly
heard him tell them to go in their underwear outside to sell the makeup. I was almost sure that's what he was
I think you're projecting what you were wanting. I think you're wishing some things, bro.
That's possible. That is possible.
I think both decisions, I don't want to go ahead, but both decisions were the right decision in this episode. If you're in a team situation and all you're saying is, I did what I was told, nothing else, and you're very just blasé about the whole thing. You're not defending yourself fully, and you're just saying, I could have added more, but I didn't because I just did what I was told. That's not necessarily what Celebrity Apprentice is about. It's about every team member giving it their all for the common good and the goal. And I think you saw that with a lot of not only the men, but also the women on different teams. You know, you saw different, I guess, team members just give it their all, you know, just really going far and doing everything they can, you know, contributing a whole lot. And it was clear this woman, I forgot her name, she, you know, she didn't exhibit any of that, and she was very blasé about it and defending herself.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think she was kind of broadcast from the beginning. Like, from the very beginning of the episode, even having never seen the show before, I thought, oh, this girl's going home. If there's anybody going home, it seems obvious the one that's going like, well, I'll just kind of help you with anything you need. How about I'm like, I don't think that's the point of the show. That doesn't seem like that's what they're trying to find.
Nope.
Yeah. So she was terminated, which I freaking loved that he said that. I don't care, cliche or not. And I wasn't expecting to get to the Choppa part.
Hated
just made
it
the whole
even
episode
more.
for me. Overall, I liked it. I think we'll continue on. We'll definitely do much shorter kind of recaps going on. Kind of let you guys know, in case you don't watch the episode, know how Matt's doing especially. But in this episode, he killed it. Absolutely stood out heads and I would say he was the strongest person from either team, really, in my mind.
He was up there. I wouldn't say fully the strongest, but I would say he's definitely in the top echelon. And he really stood out in this episode. The number one thing is that he had a lot of presence. And that's all you can ask for on a show like this.
So in the interest of time, Bijan, do you want to kind of give us a rundown of what happens in episode 2?
Yeah, I'll keep it short, but basically everybody's tasked with a Trident commercial. It was a hot mess on both. Like, when you watch both commercials, they were both honestly terrible. It actually surprised me quite a bit that the women lost, honestly, because the men's was creative, but still kind of bad. And actually the person that got the biggest, I guess, talk smack from Arnold Schwarzenegger was none other than Matt Iseman. And I don't necessarily know if it was Matt Iseman's fault, because I don't know who came up with the idea, but basically they loved the men's commercial, which was, you know, them coming up to a bunch of men, like all of them in their different environments, you know, like some playing with a dog, some looking at a picture of their child, you know, and them all smiling, you know, Trident, blah, blah, blah. But Matt Iseman's little part of the video was him eating a bunch of chicken wings and smiling, but he's got, you know, chicken wing sauce all over his face and his teeth and everything. And I was looking at him like, that looks like a really bad idea, and that does not fit at all.
That is
looks
terrible.
Super out of place.
Terrible.
Yeah. I don't know who came up with the idea. I don't know if the blame is on Matt or if it's on somebody else, but yeah, let's just say they were not happy about that. And the men got very close to being picked because of that. And it was all on Matt. So I was really worried for Matt, honestly, in this episode. The women, it was kind of just a lame commercial. It was Snooki boxing with Layla Ali. But rather than punching Layla Ali, Snooki smiled at her, and her smile knocked out Layla Ali. It was as bad as I made it sound, guys. I'm like, what the hell? And yeah, they only feature 2 smiles in that video, and the whole thing is that I forget, but it's something like the diversity of smiles, you know? They want you to show, the everyday smile. And a boxing ring is not an everyday smile, so the women just screw the pooch in terms of the messaging. And I think that's the weakness of the women right now, is that in both I guess, tasks that they had, they missed the messaging and the branding. They got everything else right, but those were the weak points. So at the end of the episode, they were just going at it, you know. It was between, you know, Snooki, who, for this entire episode, I feel like she was kind of getting bullied on just because she was quiet most of the time. It's kind of weird. Carney Wilson, somebody that Rich knows, I don't know who it is.
God, Wilson Phillips. Wilson Phillips, yes.
Sure.
He's making me feel very old today.
Don't know who that is either. and Lisa Leslie, who's a WNBA player. And yeah, Lisa Leslie, she was just going off on her own team. It was kind of dope. Like, she was just throwing everybody on the bus, being like, I didn't agree with this idea. I thought it was a terrible idea. And clearly you guys think it's a bad idea too. And just throwing the entire team under the bus. I loved it. So Lisa Leslie is basically grilling Kyle Richards. So the main reason that they lost was the concept of their commercial or their ad. And Kyle Richards came up with the concept of it. So it was clear, and like Arnold Schwarzenegger and everybody gave her all the ammo in the world, being like, hey, it's Kyle Richards' fault. And they kept on going to every single woman on the team, being like, who should get fired? And everybody's agreeing. Kyle Richards came up with the idea, and that was the reason that, they lost. So Kyle Richards should at least be sent to the bottom 3 to, be up for being terminated. And I don't know what she was thinking, but this Wilson lady, when it came down to her to choose the 2 people to go back to the boardroom with, she chose Lisa Leslie, who did nothing wrong and actually was the only person that was praised on their team because she was a videographer and the videography on the commercial did well. And Snooki, who did nothing this entire episode. She's like, why am I being called back? I didn't do anything. It was absolutely insane. And at that moment, Wilson basically dug her own grave. And yeah, it was a short boardrooming from there where they're like, what the hell? Why'd you choose these 2 people? Why didn't you bring back Kyle? And after that, Wilson got the boot, man.
Nice. So the project manager got the boot that time.
Yeah, and it was dope because they were like Lisa Leslie basically destroyed this Wilson lady. It was awesome. Keep an eye out for Lisa Leslie. She did great. Matt Iseman, honestly, when he was on the hot seat, because they're like, why did you add that part with the buffalo sauce or whatever? Matt Iseman, he's a pretty good politician in those situations, man, because I've never seen somebody deflect an answer so well since maybe the presidential debates. He's like, good question. Let me tell you about this other person on my team. Like, he completely no-sold the question and just deflected like crazy. It was great.
So who was the
Lisa
project
Leslie as standout?
Sorry,
go ahead.
Who was the project manager for the guys?
Oh, it was John Levitz.
Oh, okay.
Or John Levitz, sorry. Yeah, it was all right. It was whatever. Honestly, he didn't do much for the team. It was actually the other team members that participated a lot with the ideas of that team. So once again, that it goes down to the team acting as a whole for the betterment, and you don't want a bunch of people being like, yeah, just tell me what to do.
Cool. So episode 2, good, bad, somewhere in between?
Oh, I loved it. More drama.
Nice.
And that's the thing. I'm going to keep it short each week, guys. This one I went a little bit more in depth because, we don't have much to talk about. But, yeah, I'll keep you guys updated with Matt Iseman and everything.
And moving over to the National Ninja League, we had the qualifier at Action Athletics. And there in third place, unfortunately there was no footage, but it was Emily Barga who placed. Good job, Emily. And in second place, we did start having footage. It was McKinley Pierce. And we got to see the very first obstacle was this weird little skateboard move where they had to walk a skateboard across some obstacles. It was very odd. There's been a lot of very unique balance obstacles, as Chris noted, this season.
Oh, yeah, it was kind of dope, man. The balance obstacle, the skateboard, it was kind of like a bunch of little different planks, they kind of wobbled. Kind of like the Dancing Stones, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, but on a flat skateboard thing. And yeah, that looks actually fun because I used to skateboard. I'm actually interested in doing that.
Yeah, she had McKinley had a great upper body strength. She was plowing her way through the course. She made a couple little slip ups and ended up falling on the cliffhanger, but overall, a really good job.
Yeah, very strong.
Yeah, very solid technique. It seemed like too. That was she's very noticeably a level above a lot of the competitors that we've seen. I think we'll see a lot more from her.
Mm-hmm. Very poised.
Yeah. And in first place, one of the, I think they renamed them. They were the four horsewomen. I think someone let them know that that's not a very flattering title. They renamed them one of the four women that made it to the Philadelphia finals. Alyssa Beard. She did amazingly well. She made it across all those original obstacles plus the cliffhanger. She looked solid on the ring toss. but she gets stuck on the pegboard, which almost looked unfair with her wingspan. Like, how is she supposed to do that? She's like, got her hands out like she's doing the YMCA up above her, and she's got to try to do a pegboard with it out past her shoulders like that. That just seems impossible.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That pegboard was dope, but super hard looking. I thought that obstacle was very creative. But yeah, with that said, it's very questionable for somebody with a limited wingspan if they're able to do it. I don't know. For everybody, just, the pegs are spread out completely where you, as you said, are kind of doing like the YMCA-Y, and you have no give in terms of like leveraging your body. So you have to do a complete, I forget the term, man. But anyways, whatever. Yeah, the pegboard it looks tough, but I don't know if she was able to do it. I'm more just disheartened on Alyssa Beard no longer being they don't call it the Four Horsewomen anymore because it's what like
I can't remember. They started calling them something else after the city finals. They started calling them the Four something else.
It's a wrestling term, man. The Four Horsemen. Like, I love that term.
I think they started calling them the Fantastic Four. Come to think of it,
that makes sense.
Yep, they stopped that was what it was. They stopped calling them the Four Horsewomen and started calling them the Fantastic Four.
I can't complain. Fantastic Four is a good name.
Yeah, it's a decent name, I guess. Anyway, moving on to the men, we had in third place David Kavanaugh, an A&W vet who was doing really well. He showed again how tough that pegboard was. It being more than a shoulder width. He made it, but he was really struggling hard his way up that. And then he did something they called the Skywalker, which they didn't really give a good view of at all at first. We do get to see a little bit later. And then he went down on the down salmon ladder. And then we moved on to second place, which was Noel Reyes, who just flew through the beginning of the course. And they noted that he was taking like an active rest on the pegs before moving on. And then he kind of went on in some detail about what he means by active rest, where it's basically you can kind of rest, but not fully, right? You still got to kind of exert yourself to hold the position. So there is a kind of an opportunity at the top of the pegs to do that, but they really strung together a lot of upper body obstacles here because you go up the pegs. He went out on the salmon too after doing the Skywalker. And again, I was wondering what the Skywalker was. And we didn't really get to get a good view of it until the last guy, first place, Ernest Phillips, the People's Ninja, who has been doing phenomenally lately. He did all the other obstacles looking really solid. And then we actually got to see this Skywalker thing. So it was basically, if you picture like the circuit board, right, where they have to take the peg out, move it in a certain way to hook it and back into place. Except it was like a vertical limit version of those. So you had the nunchucks for them to hold onto and place into each of those to make it across. Very, very cool obstacle.
Yeah, I liked it. And shout out to E-Rock, man. He's kind of been the sleeper. Like, I knew he was doing well, but I didn't realize his placement. He's really high up in the league rankings, and good for him.
Yeah, he's doing really, really, really well. He ended up making it past that. And actually went out on the bungees that they had right out. Like, how many things are they supposed to? They went down the salmon ladder, and they went right into some bungees. Like, no one's going to be able to do all that. Well, one or two people maybe, but not very many. So that is it for this week. If you're listening on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you're on iTunes, please subscribe and review. And if you're on anything else, subscribe, set it to auto-download, and pat yourself in the back for having a decent podcatcher. You can reach me at Ninja Podcast on Twitter or Instagram, or rich@ninjapodcast.com. And Bijan, how can they reach you?
Yeah, hit me up, guys, at Bijan151. That is Bijan 151.
All right, thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great week.
Happy 2017, everybody.
Get to the chopper.
Blech.